In this March is on the BetQL Network. Live shows every day and podcasts on demand, all from Odyssey.
This program is a paid commercial announcement and in no way represents the views of WPHT or its management.
WPHT, WPHT-HD, WOGL HD3 Philadelphia. An Odyssey station. Investor Schooling Live with Phil Falcone and Larry Steinhaus on Talk Radio 1210 WPHT.
Good afternoon and welcome to Investor Schooling Live. Coming to you from Investor Schooling headquarters. I'm Phil Falcone here with my business partner, Larry Steinhaus. We are the founders of Investor Schooling. Get ready to learn real estate investing and stock option trading. Call us anytime during the show with your questions at 855-939-1137. That's 855-939-1137. That's right, we're a live program, so you can call us anytime during the show, and we will take your calls. Don't even worry about what we're talking about, because we don't care. We love to take your calls. Investor Schooling is located in Langhorne, Pennsylvania, serving the Philadelphia area in a real brick-and-mortar building. We are local guys, accessible to our students a minimum of 2 nights per week. Learn this business, the business of real estate investing and stock option trading, from people who live it every day. That's us. Okay, so we got some big news. We're now going to be on Saturday at 2 p.m. every Saturday until the end of We Don't Have a Clue. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. We just they just put us on at whatever time they want because we're just not important to them.
Yeah, they don't really love us like they should.
No.
And
even though Susan sends me text messages all the time, she goes, "I love you guys. Your show is great, but we're bumping you again."
Yeah. We're pretty upset with Susan.
Yeah.
And if she invites me to her birthday party, I ain't coming.
You're not going to blow out candles?
No.
You know what you should do? You should put candles. You should put a 2 and a 10 in the candle and blow out the 10, so we're always on our 2. I don't know.
I don't know if that's going to work.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
She doesn't get direct messages clearly, so how would the birthday cake thing work?
I don't know. So what else are we going to talk about, Phil, since we went off on a tangent here?
Went off on a tangent. We always go off on a tangent. So, what do you think?
Especially when it comes to what time the show is on.
You think you can buy a shed at a Home Depot or a Lowe's and turn it into a house?
Do I think you can? Well, you're going to have some major problems with that. One is a bathroom.
Well, what I was thinking was you maybe pop one in the backyard, and you make it like a mother-in-law suite or something like that, or a loser uncle suite, or a 42-year-old son who can't get a job suite, something like that, right?
You know anybody with a 42-year-old son who can't get a job?
Not at the moment, I don't, but I know some people who are getting older every day.
Okay.
And they might find themselves in that situation.
So they might be 41 now.
Yeah, they might be living in a shed pretty soon.
Right.
So, it'd be cool if you could put some people in a shed, and you could always use a composting toilet.
That's true.
Yeah. I've only really seen one of those, but it's supposed to be good for the environment.
Yeah, so I guess, but the real question is, can it be past zoning? Correct? Is that where you're going with this?
Well, I wouldn't even ask for zoning. I would just get a shed,
right,
put it in my backyard, and then afterwards make some modifications.
So in other words, you wanted to do this. And assuming you wanted to do this, you wanted to do it. You wanted to put somebody in there. You didn't want to tell the township. I would say that technically you can do it. Yeah. It certainly would be against the law, and if anything happened to the person in there, like they froze to death or they burned themselves because or the place went on fire and somebody died, you'd probably go to jail. But besides that, most likely you'd never get caught.
Yeah, I'm not worried about that kind of stuff too much.
Well, I understand, I want to make sure that everybody understands what we're talking about here.
So I am a composter.
Okay.
Yeah, I have like a shed. And in the back of my shed, I have like these huge piles of leaves and grass and and vegetable scraps. And this time of year, it all sort of freezes up, so you can't do much with it. But
you're not building a bomb out of that, are you?
no.
Okay.
I don't think you can build a bomb out of compost.
No, I know you can build a bomb out of fertilizer, but I wasn't
It's
sure.
mostly the two elements that are important is grass and leaves. So grass has nitrogen in it, and leaves have carbon in it, and those two elements break each other down. So if you've never seen a compost pile, I actually during the spring, like when I start mixing up all the compost that's been frozen for most of the winter, when I start mixing it up, it'll actually be about 140 degrees.
Oh yeah, I did notice it gets hot. That was
It's super hot. Yeah, it steams.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
if you've ever seen like a landscaper put like fresh mulch out on, and you'll see it sometimes it catches fire.
Yeah, but that's part of my concern is you put the shed out there, you put your grandmother in, you put your kid in, you put your your uncle you don't like in, and the next thing you know the place burns down because the compost system that you put together starts a fire.
Well, I suppose, that could happen.
And that's probably why they have people out there doing inspections on properties to make sure that people don't do that.
I've only seen it burning a couple of times. I've seen it burning in the back of a truck one time in the spring.
Well, that's interesting.
Right, like a truck, a landscaping truck driving down the street, and there was fire in the truck.
Did you at least pull the guy over and say, hey, you should probably put the fire out?
I didn't. When there's a fire, if you've ever been at a campfire, you just kind of stare at the fire.
Right.
You don't really do anything else. So.
Well, if there's a moving fire, I usually tell the driver you might want to pull over.
I didn't, but I was like, look at that. That's interesting. Hey, a moving fire.
Okay, I got you.
But anyway.
All right. So the answer is yes, you can do it, but I wouldn't recommend it.
That's a shame because I kind of like the idea.
Well, you do your own thing always anyway.
So, especially for some of the individuals I mentioned, like a mother-in-law.
Yeah, sure.
Or a loser uncle.
Yeah.
Or a 42-year-old kid who doesn't have a job.
I understand.
These people don't really, if they cared about the way that they were living, they wouldn't be candidates to live in my shed.
Well, what you really should do is you should throw them out and just leave the shed unlocked.
Yeah, good point.
You know what I mean? And then, so that way you say, I didn't know he was living there. By the way, if you guys want to call in and talk about, whether you want to put your kid in a shed or not, 855-939-1137, 855-939-1137. We're talking real estate. We're talking stock options. We're talking the economy. We're talking Biden. We're even talking putting your kid in a shed, right? Right?
So when you're buying a property, what are you thinking about? Are you thinking you're buying a rent roll? Are you thinking you're buying a cash flow? What are you really thinking about? What's your thoughts on that?
Sure. When I buy a property, my number one concern is, because right now, and I've discussed this before on the show, my number one concern is that, I'm 58 years old, and eventually I'm going to not be able to work or not want to work. I'm pretty sure that I'm going to die working, but you never know. I may say 10 years from now, I just don't want to work anymore. So I want to make sure that I'm prepared. I don't have a pension. I'm not, I don't work for a school system. I don't work for the government. I don't have a pension. So I have to guarantee that I can have enough income to live the rest of my life without ever having to work again, which, by the way, I already have in my rent roll. However, it's always nice to do other things like investor schooling and some other businesses as well. So my number one concern is rent roll. But I do look at other exit strategies because it's very important to me that in a situation that I have to sell that property quickly, I'm going to be able to sell that property quickly and not have to pay a bank or a private lender money out of my pocket. So yes, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look at rent roll. Let's say the property is, let's just use, for example, a $100,000 property. And I'm buying that property for $100,000 and whatever, after I pay the mortgage, pay the lender, whatever the lender is, if it's a private lender or a bank, and let's say I'm making $250 a month, that's fine with me. I have no problem with that. Now I'm buying a property, the property's increasing in value over years, hopefully. But here's the other thing too. If I believe that property's not worth $100,000 and it's really not even close. Now, sometimes depending on how I'm buying it, I don't care. If I'm buying it subject to, which is when I'm taking over somebody's mortgage payment, I really don't care. But if I'm buying that property and I know I need to unload that, I may need to unload that property and it's really worth $60,000, but I'm paying $100 for it, even though I'm making that $250, I may not buy it. There are reasons I would, but I may not buy it. That's one. The other thing is I also want to look at the probability of what else I can do with it. So can I make, and I've also mentioned this before in the show, when I renovate a property, so let's say that property needed some work, when I renovate the property, I have to renovate. I over-renovate is what my property managers tell me. They tell me that I over-renovate, but I want to over-renovate because, again, I want to be able to sell that property quickly. I also want to look what's going on in the area. And I don't care, bad area, good area, that's not the same thing. A bad area, there's certain areas I just don't want to invest in because I just don't want to deal with that type of tenant because it's a management problem. I want my tenants to stay. But when I renovate the property, I also am renovating it so I can sell it quickly, and that's very important to me that I can sell it quickly. But if I'm looking at the area and I'm seeing that this house, I said 100,000 was a really tough number, and the house is actually worth maybe 100,000 in this market, but the houses around it are all $60,000 houses. It just so happens that this house, I don't know, has gold fixtures or something. I don't know, whatever it may be, or has more bedrooms than the other ones. And that's why it's 100. I also got to be careful that that property is not the highest property on the block. I don't necessarily want the property with the most on the block. So I'm looking at different exit strategies. But to answer your question, number one, most important thing to me is rent roll. And am I going to make any money?
Let's switch over to talking a little bit about stock options.
Sure.
So I think we were both in Facebook.
Yes.
Right? In Meta. And in case you don't know, they changed their name to Meta. And I'm doing well with it. I bought it at 200, and I'm up almost $8,000 in the last week.
Yeah, that was a great play. Actually, in the last week or so, it actually went up over about 20 points. It went up in the last week or so, which is pretty powerful. It went down. So it was it was actually on. Wow. Wait, actually 5 days ago. Just so you know, 5 days ago, it was at its bottom for this current period of 186. And now it's at 216. That's beautiful play.
Yeah, I did not.
Beautiful
Did
play.
you get in at
No,
186?
I had no more money.
Yeah.
I was in a bunch of other plays, and I looked at that. When I hit 186, I was super excited. I really wished I had some more money.
Didn't you buy it above 200 or something?
Yeah. I do have 15 contracts of it. Some that I bought at I don't know, I think 210 or 205 or something. I don't remember.
Yeah, well, you're pretty close to being out of those, though.
Yeah, but I'm also looking. My out price on that is still probably 235, but I believe it'll go to 250 before earnings. So these are plays that we talk about when you come to investor schooling. We teach you stock options. First of all, a lot of people don't even know what we do in investor schooling, and it's interesting. So in investor schooling, we're teaching you real estate, we're teaching you stock options, but that's only the beginning. We teach you how to make more money in anything you're doing. We've given people business advice. We've put 2 or 3 people. And probably in the last 6 months, we put them in businesses that had nothing to do with real estate, had nothing to do with stock options, and we coach them through it and help them create that as well. We help people. For example, we're doing a presentation coming up on Thursday about HSAs. So if you have a health savings account, I'm going to be doing a presentation on HSAs and how you can, save a fortune in taxes by using an HSA. And people don't even know that it's like another IRA. If you ever thought the limit of $7,000 at our age, or $6,000 if you're younger, was too little, well, how about being able to put another $8,300 a year away into another IRA? And it has better rules than regular IRAs. In fact, one of the things I'm going to be saying on Thursday is put the money in the HSA first. If you only have $7,000, do an HSA over an IRA. You'll actually come out ahead. You'll come out ahead, unless of course you're using a Roth IRA. Roth IRA is the best, but a traditional IRA, the HSA is much better than a traditional IRA. I said that right. So when you come to investors, you don't learn all that. You're gonna learn tax savings. You're gonna learn motivation. You're gonna learn things about money that you never even knew. It's like my book. I've been talking about my books. I have a new book coming out called Money Hacks, and the subtitle is because everything you think you know about money is wrong. And most people know nothing about money. They don't teach this stuff in school.
They never have.
No, and they never will.
They make you read, though. They have a massive influence on reading. Reading. I know kids in the 3rd grade who can read no problem already. But they'll teach them reading for another 14 years.
And they won't teach them what to read.
Yeah, well, that of course not. The things they give them to read will be the stupidest books, like Catcher in the Rye, you know?
They should all be reading 1984 and Animal Farm. And if you don't even need to read 1984, you could experience it in about 10 years. You know, we are obviously living in the prequel to 1984. It's fascinating, fascinating. And if you guys know 1984, Winston, I don't know if you guys he was in the Ministry of Truth. And the funny part was, you know what that's called now, right?
No.
A Facebook fact checker.
Yeah, okay.
Facebook, yes.
I like trading the stock. Other than that,
yes.
I don't really care
I know,
about
but
Facebook
we have a bunch of viewers on Facebook. By the way, if you're watching on Facebook, hey, say hello to us. We you know, you could comment on Facebook, on LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube, and I don't see anybody comment. I don't even see anybody saying hello. You know why? Because they all think we're on at 10 o'clock and they're not watching the show anymore.
Yeah.
Thanks, Susan.
So let's just suppose, I know you believe that there's going to be a crash coming in the future. Is there a way to maximize profit in the next crash?
In the crash or currently for the crash?
In, before, after?
Okay.
You know.
All right. So, by the way, if you want to call in, 855-939-1137, 855-939-1137. We'd love to hear from you. All right. So, can you take advantage of the crash? Well, I'm looking forward to it. You know, there's so many different ways that I'm going to be able to buy real estate in the crash, or we're going to be able to buy real estate, and we're teaching our students how to buy real estate. One of the biggest things is taking over people's payments on their house. In 2008, we had so many people who they went into foreclosure, they went into bankruptcy, and they lost their house. Now, a lot of these people wouldn't even have minded so much of losing their house, but they can't get anything back. They went into bankruptcy, they went into foreclosure, they can never get another mortgage, and we could save them from that. Yeah, we're going to buy their house, and we're going to own their house, and probably rent it to somebody else. But at the same time, at least these people won't go into bankruptcy. They won't go into foreclosure. We can take over their payments, and it doesn't matter what their payment was. A little while ago, I was talking about selling the house and making sure that the value of the house was there. Think about this though. But if the house is $100,000, if it's worth $100,000 and they owe $120,000, and I could take over their $1,000 a month payment, whatever it may be, and I'm still making $250 a month. That's different. I didn't underwrite it. The mortgage is not in my name, and I take over their payment, and now it's worth it to me to keep that property.
Yeah, and they can always go couch surfing on their friends' couches.
They could even live in your backyard.
They could. They could live in my shed, but it wouldn't be for free.
Right. No.
Right.
Right.
You know, they'd have to cut the grass or something.
Right. Why don't you put your wife back there and just call it a she shed?
Hey. Wifey is moving to a mansion in Florida.
Oh, that's right. She's moving to a mansion in Florida, and you're going to be living in the she shed.
No, I'm going with the wifey.
Oh, you're going with her? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not giving her up.
That's good. Good for you. That's
keeping
such a sweet thing. I'm not going to give my wife up either. You want to know? It took me, I don't know.
Speaking of wifey.
It took all these years for me to find someone who actually, besides puts up with me, actually loves me the way I want to be loved.
I know. That's really amazing.
I know. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
All right. What were you going with
Wifey
this,
gave me a question for the show today.
What if I gave you a question?
Wifey gave me a question.
Your wifey?
Yes.
Okay.
She said, will the cost of fuel affect the vacation rental business?
That's a really good question.
Mm-hmm. See how she did that? She tied that together with thinking that people don't want to drive multiple states now because of the gas cost. It could affect the vacation rental business.
So you want my opinion?
Yeah, sure.
You won't.
Okay. We'll
actually,
tell her.
So, Terry, no problem. Don't worry about it. The cost of gas is not going to affect the vacation business. In fact, it's going to be just the opposite. It's going to make the vacation business even better because what people will do is they're either flyers and they really don't care, and they're gonna fly anyway, or they're saying, hey, I don't think I can afford a plane ticket right now, so I'm gonna drive.
Yeah, but I don't think that equation actually works. What the cost of a ticket for a plane is versus the cost of the fuel and the hotels that you got to stay in to drive there, I don't think it makes any sense.
Well, it depends where you're going. If you're going from here to Florida, you're probably staying over at least one night, right? That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah,
but if
you could do it straight through, but it's really dangerous.
But if you're going from here to, I don't know, to let's say Buffalo, New York, and you're doing a vacation in Buffalo, New York.
Why the heck would you want to go to Buffalo, New York?
I don't know. I was trying to think of something random.
Yeah.
You want me to say Massachusetts? Oh, wait. I'd rather go to Buffalo. Sorry.
I can't think of. I went to Buffalo once for business,
Right.
and I just thought to myself, don't ever go here again.
Really?
Oh, it's frigid,
Yes,
freezing.
it is definitely cold.
It snows every day. You know, they got these gigantic lakes, so all this moisture is in the air all the time. It just never stops snowing. It's one of the worst places on the planet, I think.
Yeah.
Siberia, Buffalo,
Syracuse is
and Alaska.
yeah, Syracuse is worse than all of that. Oh,
Yeah.
it's horrible. I agree. But anyway, so I believe people will definitely be driving, no doubt.
Okay, good.
Hey James, I appreciate you watching on Facebook. Thanks so much. And look, my wife sent me a heart on Facebook. Isn't that cool?
Isn't that nice?
I know. It's so awesome.
How come my wife never sends me a heart?
I don't know. I'm not going to even make a comment. 855-939-1137. 855-939-1137. We're talking real estate. We're talking stock options. We're talking the stock market. We're talking the economy. We're talking anything you want to talk about that has to do with money. 855-939-1137. If you're in your car, give us a call. Hey, by the way, I want to shout out to one of our students who, I'm not going to mention his name, but he got into a car accident last week, and he's in really bad shape. Like he called me today to let me know he's got some serious surgeries he's got to go through, recover. So I just want to let him know that we're thinking about him, and and it's sad to hear this story, but he was pretty excited. He was pretty excited that he gets to stay home and listen to our show, and he's pretty excited that he gets to watch our videos because he's a student. But that was his phone call to me. I'll tell you what it is afterwards. All right. So I want to shout out. You know who you are. So thanks so much for continue to support us, and we wish you luck, and we're praying for you. All right. What else?
Let's see. Is there anything people spend more on than their home?
Is there anything people spend more on in their homes? Sometimes I have to filter myself. But I can think, like drug addicts will spend more money on drugs, right? Alcoholics will spend more money on alcohol.
Yeah,
Gamblers will spend more money on gambling.
If you've got those kind of problems, then you may not have a home.
Yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
right. So more money on your home. I'm not sure in what context you're asking that question. You're talking about when they buy it? Is it the number one asset, or you're talking about when they're repairing it?
No, I'm thinking more along the lines of over the course of your life, a home, not only purchasing the home and then all the money that you actually, if you get a traditional mortgage and you're paying actually 3 times more than you think you're paying, right? And then in addition to that, all the repairs and everything that you've got to do, and even up to the day that you sell it, which could be 45 years later, and now you got to fix the sidewalks because the township's making you. I mean, home ownership is expensive over the course of your life. I mean, obviously, it's I wouldn't do it any other way, but I think it's probably the biggest expense that any normal person has in their life.
So here's a great question to add to that question. If you buy a home that you're going to live in, is it an asset or is it a liability?
Yeah, I already know the answer to that question, but you could run it by the audience.
So for all those who got it wrong, it is a liability. It is not an asset. It just so happens you get lucky and you sell it for more money than you paid for it, but it is not. An asset makes you money. A liability costs you money. And everything that you just said is absolutely true. It costs you money. It costs you homeowners fees. It costs you... I know. You want to say hello? He's looking up at the screen because his wife said something. Go ahead. Read it out.
She just said, "Here's your heart, honey."
Yeah, so Terry, Terry was jealous that Linda reached out and gave me a heart, and then we said something.
Yeah, I can't have that happen.
Yeah, absolutely. So I just want you to my wife was first.
All right, so what do you got on your mind? You got any questions off the top of your head?
I'm curious to know about what you're doing with your tiny house park. Can you talk about it right now?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Sure. I don't care. So I have a tiny house park in Sarasota, Florida. It's very close to Siesta Key Beach. If you know Siesta Key Beach, if you don't know Siesta Key Beach, you should get your butt down there and check it out. It's #1 rated beach in the United States, better than California, better than Hawaii, and better than almost every beach in Florida that I've ever seen. And it's just something you have to see it to understand it. The beach doesn't even have sand. It's not sand. It's quartz. It's crushed rock. Story goes, 10 million years ago, during the Ice Age, the freezing and thawing point of the ice was right on Siesta Key Beach. And so what happened was these rocks all formed, and then these rocks kept rubbing against each other during the freezing and thawing for millions of years. And the beach is actually crushed rocks, crushed quartz. And what makes it super cool is it's a beautiful color of pure white. And when you walk on it, it could be 120 degrees outside. You know, in the summertime in Florida, it gets pretty hot. And you could walk around on the beach barefooted and you will not burn your feet at all. It's cool. It actually has a cooling effect.
Well, but what about your tiny house park?
Yeah. So I'm just talking about that.
Oh, right.
So this tiny house park has 17 units, all tiny homes. You can check it out at tinysiesta.com. tinysiesta.com. And I will be putting this property up for sale pretty soon, probably in the next couple of weeks.
So, not to go to numbers, but what percentage are you going to make from when you bought it to when you sold it? What do you think?
I think I'm what?
About 150% over what you paid for it?
Yeah, that's probably a good guess. What I paid $917,000 for it, and a substantial amount of that has been paid off, but it still has some debt on it, and there's also a penalty clause, if you remember that story.
Sure, yeah.
Right, so if I sell it before the 20 years is up, I have to pay him like $45,000 or something, but it's not a big bill.
Oh, yeah.
Considering the amount of money that it could be sold for. So, yeah, I would say about, 150% would probably be about right.
So the whole time you owned that, you were making an income.
Yep.
And you were paying down the mortgage. And now, what was it, about 10 years ago you bought it?
No, we bought it in 2016.
Okay, great.
So we've owned it like 6
years.
Wow. About 6 years.
So in 6 years, you had an asset that grew that somebody else paid for, which the tenants paid for, actually the vacationers paid for, and now you walk away with about $1.5 million. Not bad.
Let's assume that, yeah, that's the range it's going to be in.
Yeah.
Right. Assuming that, you know.
Even if you walk away with $1 million.
Yeah, I mean.
It's fantastic.
You know, what I didn't necessarily even be the one to suggest that we sell it, okay? But my business partner wants to, and I'm okay with that because there's several reasons why, but, he wants to go on and do what he wants to do,
right.
And so if I am forced to take a bunch of money, that's not the worst problem in the world.
So I will tell you, I actually think you are selling it at the absolute latest possible time that you will get the most money for that.
You mean the greatest possible time?
The latest. In other words, if you waited till next year, you'd already be getting at least $250,000 to $500,000 less if you wait.
Well, certainly the timing down there is amazing right now, and anything you put up for sale, it flies off the market. It goes for way over what it's probably worth. So, yes, I agree that it makes a heck of a lot of sense, and whatever tax money I owe, so be it.
Exactly. I also believe that the tiny house fad is over. I think it actually ended already, but there's still
frankly,
people out there.
I don't really. I'm not tied into the tiny house fad. I don't know that it was ever really that popular, but I guess it was for this particular park.
It worked for you, yeah.
It worked for this park.
All right, real quick. So 855-939-1137, 855-939-1137. Let's take a break, and we'll be back in just a couple of minutes. This is Larry Stein.
Clear.
And you still haven't attended a complimentary class, go to Investor Schooling right now. Sign up for this Thursday night. If you have questions, you can call us at 215.
Just checking, guys. You can still hear me, right?
5-876-3002. Come this Thursday, complimentary class. Learn real estate, learn stock option investing, and learn everything you've ever wanted to know about money. 215-876-3002, investorschooling.com. This is Larry Sinus from Investor Schooling, and you are invited to a special presentation on April 24th. That's right, we're having an all-day presentation with freedom and finances. We're going to have some special guests that are going to talk to you about how to be free with money and how to be free with your life. Make sure you go to the number4mmw.com. That's number4mmw.com. Sign up for tickets right now. You are going to be amazed at this amazing event. 4mmw.com. This is Larry Sinus, Investor Schooling. This is Larry Sinus from Investor Schooling. Are you tired of being broke? If you're
Lots of Larry in this block.
sign up for a complimentary class this Thursday and learn how not to be broke. That's right. Go to investorschooling.com and sign up for a complimentary class this Thursday. And if you have any questions, you can call us at 215-876-3002, 215-876-3002. Go to investorschooling.com, sign up for this Thursday, and learn how not to be broke. investorschooling.com.
Phil Falcone here from Investor Schooling. One of the best decisions I've ever made in my life was to be a real estate investor. If you feel the same way, all you need to do is get your butt to investorschooling.com.
You guys there? Hello, hello.
215-876-3002. I'll be there to help you learn this business. See you at investorschooling.com. Investorschooling.com.
All right, welcome back to Investor Schooling Live. I'm Larry Steinhaus, and I'm here with Phil Falcone, and we are the founders of Investor Schooling, and we're having a really good time talking about real estate, stock options, anything that has to do with money. And don't forget, you can call in at 855-939-1137, 855-939-1137. We'd actually like you to call and say, hey, you actually found us, because we know our time changed every day for the last, 2 months. And most people have no idea that we're even on the air at the moment because they think we're on the air at another time. So if you're actually in your car, 855-939-1137, we would love to hear from you to talk about anything. Where do we want to go now, Phil?
Oh, imagine trying to build an audience for a radio show that changes its time every week.
Yes, we're just going to complain about it all day long. And we should, because nobody's going to listen to us complain anyway.
It's a darn shame.
Hey, you know what I want to talk about? The commercial came up about the event that we're having on April 24th. Listen, I'm going to tell you right now, turn up your radio or turn it up on Facebook and listen to this. You definitely want to attend this event. It's an event that we are going to have. We're going to have some really interesting speakers, like, believe it or not, Doug Mastriano, amazing speaker. We're going to have Teddy Daniels, who is also another amazing speaker. We're going to have Bill Spadia. So if any of you guys are in New Jersey and know who Bill Spadia is, he's the number one talk show host in New Jersey. Amazing guy. He's been on Fox. Amazing guy. You definitely want to see this. We're also going to be talking about money. We're going to be talking about finances. We're going to be talking about how to change your life completely with freedom and finances. And if you want to go to 4mmw.com, it's the number 4mmw.com. You could sign up for this right now. It's a full-day event. We're going to be at the Washington Crossing Inn. You're going to have breakfast. You're going to have lunch. And we're going to have a really good time. And you're going to get to sit at the table, or at least take a picture, with some of these amazing guests. And I promise you, there are guests there. By the way, not only those guests, we got guests talking to you about how to buy apartment buildings. We got guests talking to how to raise millions of dollars. We got guests talking to you about how to take over properties without getting a mortgage on them. How to buy properties with no money. 4mmw.com, 4mmw.com. All right. What else, Phil?
Oh, my script, I'm at the end already.
You're already at the end? No, you got so many other things on here. You got other questions here. You said...
well, let's talk about the house that I just rented to essentially an insurance company.
Oh, that was a really good play, yeah.
Yeah. So I put a house up for rent in East Norriton, and I was contacted by an...
You know what? Real quick, we got Scott in Mullica Hill. Hey, Scott.
Hey, Larry.
Hey, all right.
Hello, how you guys doing?
So tell everybody what we just talked about.
Well, I thank you guys so much for the Get Well shout-out. March 11th at 7 o'clock, I got hit by a head-on guy with no lights. So I'm very thankful to be here, and I thank for my family at Investor Schoolings like you, Larry, and Phil. And I really appreciate everybody there. And I also called with a couple questions, everything about Biden and Bitcoin. if you would still stay with Bitcoin.
So am I a fan of Bitcoin? I missed the boat on Bitcoin. I missed the boat on it.
Well, I think since Biden got into, and you know, when President Poopy Pants gets into anything, it all falls apart. So you know how that goes.
All right. So what happened? So I think what you're referring to is the new legislation that they're trying to introduce to Bitcoin, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
All right. So here's the problem with what they're trying to do. Bitcoin is supposed to be unregulated and it's supposed to be decentralized, and the government is trying to figure out how to regulate it and centralize it, which completely defeats the purpose of Bitcoin. I honestly don't think that they're going to be able to accomplish what they're trying to accomplish, and I actually believe that the crypto community believes that too, and that's why, you know, Bitcoin hasn't dropped to essentially zero, but it'll never drop to zero. But Bitcoin, in my opinion, the big moves for crypto are done. It doesn't mean that crypto is not going to go up. It doesn't mean, you know, right now it's hovering around 40, 41,000. It doesn't mean it's going to not hit 50. It might, but it's not going to go from 40 to 80 in a month. That's not going to happen anymore. We you know, there's too many people in it. There's too many people involved. It's now becoming more and more mainstream. I never understood how it went from, I don't know, a penny or whatever it was, a quarter, whatever it was when it started, to 60,000 in the first place. But either way, it's just not going to be what it was. That doesn't mean it's not a bad investment. It's just not one of my favorite investments. You know, I for some of you know, I did a little bit of crypto just for fun. I threw 20 grand at it and I took 30 out. So I made 10 grand. And then I also tried to experiment with NFTs just to see how they worked. And the cost to buy and sell NFTs is so expensive. I don't know how anybody can make any money with this, at least for now. Things are going to change, and I'm watching it. But right now, I don't see it as the greatest thing that it was. I also see that all the people, like the millennials, I talked about this on my other show the other day, all the millennials who made a whole bunch of money in Bitcoin and in the stock market using Robinhood apps and not having any idea what they were doing, trading with no rules and just getting lucky, they're all going to be in some serious trouble in the next 2 or 3 years because they thought money grows on trees, and it does not grow on trees. And they're going to have to go back to work and actually learn how to do something else to get money. But we totally appreciate your call, Scott. Anything else on there?
I'm sorry?
You have another question?
The only other question was, with this inflation coming in, with the stagflation, do you think that's going to really hit the tech stocks and send them back down?
Well, the tech stocks have already taken a beating, except for Apple. Apple will keep going. So the tech stocks have already taken a beating. You have to wait. So remember that we're trading stock options. We're not trading stocks. So right now I'm looking for short-term gains, not long-term gains. And for stocks like Facebook will continue to grow. Stocks like Twitter will continue to grow. Stocks like Apple will never stop growing. I wouldn't even be surprised if Apple hits 1,000 in the next 5 years, you know, from where it is now. But you know, that's a 5-year play. Because that's just what it is. You know, Apple, they own everything. I mean, we're sitting here, we have, in this room alone, we have probably 7 or 8 Apple products in this room alone while we're doing this show. So it'll never go away. Plus, Apple has the subscription services, so they're going to be the greatest company. They're going to continue to be the greatest company ever. You've got Google and Amazon. Amazon, same thing, will never die, and Google will never die. So these companies are always going to grow. They just may grow slower, or they may take a temporary hit. But how you feeling, man?
All right. Well, when I had the accident, my left ankle and foot went to the far left. So they aligned that over Christiana Hospital in Delaware. I have a great doctor, Patrick Ward. So he aligned that. They gave me a thing called a block. And, oh, my God, that thing was great. I couldn't feel anything.
All right.
I have 3 broken ribs on the right and 1 on the left. And with your prayers and the great family you have there at Investor Schooling, I'll know it'll get better. Thank you.
All right, man. Well, you go rest and have a good night. All right, where else we going with this, Phil? What's next?
Okay, so I was talking about I have this house in East Norriton that I put up for rent.
Right.
And I got contacted by essentially a guy who works exclusively with insurance companies. And, you know, he said, you know, you can put it on the market for $100,000. And I said, well, I don't want to do that. And he said, well, people always think that real estate investors, people who don't know what the heck they're talking about, they think real estate investors are out there stealing houses from people. They don't understand the good that we real estate investors do. So this family, the house next to this family caught fire, and the fire came over to the next family's house. So these people are displaced. And I made a deal with this insurance guy to rent my house for multiple years. Okay, so I'm basically doing a 12-month lease followed by a month-to-month arrangement where he can continue to rent it to people who maybe they had a flood, maybe they had a fire, maybe there's an electrical issue. It could be a bunch of different kinds of problems that the house has. And this is going to help people who need a place to live. And what this insurance guy does is he also furnishes the house. He furnishes it. That's an interesting idea. And I guess they charge the insurance company in question to pay for all that stuff, and there's a built-in profit in it. So everybody's making money, and we're helping a family that needs help desperately.
That's great. So I like the idea that you're going to be getting rent from this insurance. It's basically an insurance adjuster, right, or something like that.
Well, they're sort of like realtors who work with insurance companies, but he didn't charge me a commission.
Yeah, right.
To rent my property.
Yeah, it's a great play for you.
Yeah, I think so.
And I'm actually curious to see how it works out over the next year or so.
Yeah, I mean,
because when this family moves in, and then they move out, this company continues to pay you rent.
He doesn't want to let it go because he knows it's impossible to find rentals these days. So he wants to literally just control the property, and I put in an annual rental increase for me every year, and it should be a nice compound rental income stream. And all in all, I'm going to make money. They're making money. The insurance companies now have a house that they can put clients in when there's some kind of issue, like a flood, like a fire, whatever. So it helps everybody along the way. It's a good thing.
Very cool.
Yeah.
I like the idea of making money.
I like the idea of making money and helping people at the same time.
Yeah, well, that's pretty much what we... By the way, that's a really good way to describe what we do. Well, we go to somebody's house and we try to buy their house because we're trying to help them out of a situation that nobody else can help them out of. I mean, imagine being able to offer somebody more than full price for their house because and they owe more. They owe more than the house is worth, and we can go in there and we can offer them the full amount of money that they owe, even though the house is worth less than that, and we'll buy the house. We'll make money. They'll be able to leave, and they'll be able to be more comfortable. All right. What else do we have here? What other cool questions do we have? Who else wants to call in? 855-939-1137. And by the way, if you're watching online, you can also ask a question there as well. So you can ask a question on YouTube, on LinkedIn, Facebook, or Twitter, and we'll also answer your question as well. You having a good day, Phil?
Yeah, I'm feeling pretty good today.
All right. Did you enjoy the presentation on Thursday?
Which one are you talking about?
The one you gave.
I did one on, yeah, sure.
What did you talk about?
I was talking about proof of funds.
Yeah.
And
so that's a great topic too, right there, proof of funds. So a lot of people, we've talked about this several times in the show. As a matter of fact, I was listening to another show earlier, and I noticed that we talked about it a couple of while ago, right? So this is what's happening, right? What happens is people think that they can't buy real estate unless they have money.
Yeah.
And the answer is that's not true. You can buy all the real estate you want if you have a good deal. You'll find the money. But sometimes you need, and it's almost never, it's only if you're dealing with a real estate agent, you need to show what's called proof of funds. And people talk about proof of funds letters or proof of funds where they actually, if you had $1 million in the bank, it's pretty easy to show somebody, hey, I have $1 million in the bank. But even Phil and I, right, most of our money is tied up in investments. It's tied up in real estate. It's tied up in the stock market. It's tied up anywhere. And, for us to show $2 million or $3 million worth of proof of funds, we just can't do it, even though we're saying we're going to buy the property for $2 or $3 million cash. Now, we're getting that cash from somebody else. So a lot of times we need to come up with a proof of funds letter. And a proof of funds letter is basically just a letter from an accountant, from your banker, that says, yes, these people have the money. Now, we may not have the money physically, but we have the availability to get that money. So you can use that part of it. You can use, and on top of that, you can also, once you get a good deal, getting the money is easy. I don't think you can't get the money. I promise you'll get the money for every good deal. Have you ever had a good deal that you didn't get money for?
No.
Have you ever had a bad deal that you thought was a good deal and you tried to get money for it?
And you found out that nobody wanted to lend on it.
Right.
Yeah.
And then you don't buy it.
Its funny part is that actually happened to me on one of the most successful deals I've ever done.
Which one?
Okay, it was the one that I was doing in Collegeville.
Oh, yeah, I remember
and
that.
I made that huge amount of money from it, right?
Yeah, you ended up wholesaling it, though.
And no, I didn't wholesale it.
Well, you closed on it first. That's right.
I closed on it,
Right.
and then I sold it on the MLS. But the funny part about it is that there was a hard money lender in town who refused to lend me the money. He thought the deal was that bad. He thought it was that bad, and his evaluation was way off.
Oh yeah,
way off.
You
It turned
killed
out
on that property.
Oh yeah, it turned out to be the most profitable short-term deal I ever did. So it's just funny, you know.
So, Ed left a funny comment on Facebook. He said all his money is tied up in cash. All right, we got Rob on the line. Hey, Rob, what's going on? How can we be of service to you today?
Oh, hello. Thank you. First time, long time. I used to service commodities trading, these devices back in the early 80s. And I just wanted to know if you cover commodities trading, like buying pork or whatever, commodities. And I know you can make a fortune real quick and you can lose a fortune real quick.
Did you ever make a fortune in commodities?
I just wanted to know. I never trade them. I used to go up to New York from South Jersey, and on the screen, they used to get these question marks instead of having the latest price. This is back in the early 80s, 82.
Right.
And now, of course, it's all internet. So now, and I used to service them. The traders would get upset because they wanted to trade. They were watching the screen constantly all day to see what happened to the pork bellies, to the wheat, to the metals, to this and that, and everything. And so they get all stressed out, and you know, you have to get the signal, put the headphones on. This is 40 years ago. I used to service them.
So I'm actually glad you said that for two reasons.
Today.
I'm glad you brought this up for two reasons. We actually don't teach commodities. You know, we teach specifically stock options and stock market and different ways to make money with the stock market. We don't teach commodities. We could. It's just not. It just gets to the point where what's the difference? But you said something that was really interesting. You said these guys were watching the screens all day long. What we teach is a method of trading stock options that you do not have to watch your screens all day long. And that's what's really important. What's important is I actually call it a part-time method of trading stock options. And we teach you how to use certain apps on your phone that send you alerts to pay attention to what's going on to the market. And if at that point you feel you want to buy or sell, you're going to buy or sell a stock options. It's actually very simple. The alerts go up very, very infrequently. And I will also tell you that the stock options sultan, who's going to be coming up in about 5 minutes or 2 minutes, whatever it is, the stock options sultan will also send you text messages if you're a student on buys that the stock options sultan feels are good buys. So that's really cool. You should come in and see us.
I would love to. Yeah, I love listening to your show. I disagree with you politically, but that's neither here. That's okay. But
well, nobody's perfect.
You need a lot of money to get started. Like if you want to buy a few shares of this, it might be $100.
Yeah.
You need a lot. No.
So we usually tell people that you could start with as little as $1,000 in your stock options account and make money.
Okay.
And how could you possibly disagree with us financially? I mean, politically.
Yeah.
No, I'm only teasing you, Rob.
I don't like the Republicans.
Oh, okay.
That's okay. I'm not. I used to be a Republican until Bush invaded Iraq.
Hey, I have a question for you, Rob.
But now,
did you buy gas today?
Yeah.
Did you buy gas today? Whose fault is that?
Yes.
Whose fault was the gas prices?
The girlfriend I'm going to go see. I can take care of her and her son and their dog. Of my little salary, I'd take care of 3 other people. I go down and visit them.
I know. I just wanted to know
who's
to blame for the gas prices at the moment.
Oh, the gas. I guess. Gosh, I don't. The oil companies. It's funny you mentioned. I sent an email to Joe Biden. I said, "Why don't you let the oil? They got billions. Let them cover the cost of oil for once in their life." I mean, they're always.
All right, that's fine. I just wanted to know. I just wanted to know what you thought. I thought you were going to say it was Putin's fault, but at least you went to the anti-capitalist side.
Yeah, no, right, no, that's nah. But like I said, I got another thing there. Phil mentioned about movies, money movies, a couple weeks ago, and there was one that came out in the 70s. You ever hear Rollover? It was a great movie back then. It was about
Rollover.
I don't remember it.
Rollover. It sounds like a porno movie.
Yeah, I've heard of it.
Well,
Glenn's heard of it.
Christopherson and Jane Fonda. It does, but it has to do with back in the 70s how the Saudis would take their debt and roll it over for the United States. And there's one time they decided not to roll it over, and everything crashed. Basically.
Oh, that's kind of interesting. Well, I'll have to look for it. All right, Rob.
It's good rollover. It was good back then.
All right. Well, we have to move on, Rob. We appreciate the call. We appreciate you being a listener, and let's go, Brandon.
So,
all right, man. Where are we going now?
Before we go to the stock option sultan, the other thing I was talking about on Thursday night was the entrepreneurial mindset, because we get a lot of people who come to our school, and this is the first time they're ever trying anything entrepreneurial, like buying a quad. That would be a house with 4 units in it, and renting that out is a business. It's a business to itself. It's no different than if you owned a pizza shop. That's a business. You need to understand some of the traits that true blue entrepreneurs like Larry and I, who've been doing this kind of stuff our whole lives, the way that we think about business. So I was sharing with our students on Thursday night, not just proof of funds, that was part of my presentation, but the other part was the mindset of an entrepreneur, the kind of mindset that you need to have. All right?
Sounds good. All right, let's do this. Ready?
Let's do it.
Stock option sultan. Stock option sultan.
All right, we already mentioned Facebook. Facebook is still a play. It's not as good of a play as it was last week, but it's still a play. I still think Facebook's going to hit 250 probably before spring. 235 before earnings is highly likely. I don't know if you remember this, but the stock option sultan came out on Thursday night, Phil. I don't know if you remember this. And I said the very next day, I suggested a option play on Apple. The last second of the night, I said, I suggest an option play on Apple to buy a option. And if you would have bought that option, if any of the students bought that option that morning when they opened up, they would have made 30 to 40% in an hour. That's how good the play was.
When did that happen? On Friday morning?
It was Friday morning. So Friday morning, it opened down slightly low. And I even said to it, I said, if it drops anything tomorrow for even a second, buy it. And sure enough, Apple popped up. It was up over 4 points at one point. It was an amazing play, just an amazing play. So that would have made you lots of money, and Rob would have been happy. Rob would have been able to. Rob might have even realized what a capitalist is.
If he had made that kind of money, he might even come back to the Republican side.
Yeah, there you go. And then actually, Nicola's surprising me. Nicola's actually moving back up to 9 range, and they'll actually move past the 10 range, I believe, pretty soon too. So that's a play as well. Boeing's still low. I actually like the Boeing play right now. It's at 193. I think Boeing is going to finish in the 200s, probably 210, 215, 220 come earnings. And earnings on that is, where is it? It's 426, so the end of April. By the way, I remember we talked about the dead zone, and I said the dead zone is real. We talk about it in the school. I know I don't have time to explain it to you right now, but we have something called the dead zone. I predicted that March 15th, I predicted it for over a month, that March 15th would be the end of the downturn in the stock market, and sure enough, it was dead on the date based on some of the theories that we teach, and sure enough, it happened just the way I said it was going to happen. I also believe that from now to about the end of April, the stock market is going to be on a tear. It's going to do really, really well. And if there's a down day anywhere, that's where you need to buy. You need to buy on those down days because it's going to be a great play. Real quick, you have anything you want me to look at, Phil?
Well, I'm just curious about what you just said. So you're saying that you think we're going to be on a nice streak between now and the end of April.
Absolutely. We have no bad news coming.
Right, because we've got a lot of major tech companies that all report their earnings at the end of April.
But we also have no bad news coming. So all the bad news is here right now. The oil prices are up over 100. Done. Inflation happened. Done. We have the interest rates done. Everybody knows what's going to happen now. And the war already started. So the only thing that can happen now is better news. So it's not like, I mean, unless World War III starts, and that's a whole different issue.
Yeah.
But the only thing that can happen now is the war ends, which will be good news. The only thing that can happen now is that the Fed comes back and says, hey, you know what? We decided not to raise interest rates this month. So that's all good news. So everything, all of the news, the bad news is already factored into the market. Only thing that can happen now is a continuation of good news.
You know, I was thinking that, like, okay, remember the biggest day you ever had in the stock market, right?
Yeah.
If this war could potentially, you could see the end of it coming, it might be a good time to load up.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And maybe have one of those days.
Yeah, definitely. Matter of fact, oil companies, to me, are a put play now because it's already done.
You want to talk a little bit about that major day?
Oh, yeah, I made $193,000 in one day trading stock options.
Yeah.
It was an amazing day.
And I remember that morning because the market was up 1,700 points pre-market.
I remembered my computer crashed, and I actually, because I was trying to get out of stock options, I was on the road, and I tried to get out of stock options, and my computer crashed, and I actually took it to the office, and I hit it with a hammer and smashed it into pieces because I never wanted to have that happen again. I figured for $193,000 I could make money again. Why don't you take us out?
All right, so I want to thank our producer, Glenn Page, and Mike Keeper. And if you're interested in being a sponsor on this show, you can just give us a call at 855-939-1137, 855-939-1137.
We got more time. You could say a couple of things more, like come to Investor Schooling this Thursday night. Go to investorschooling.com, and you can be there this Thursday night at Investor Schooling, and you can learn about stock options, real estate, and anything that has to do with money. In fact, if you show up and you say you heard us on the air, I will even give you an Investor Schooling T-shirt. How's that?
Oh, that's a heck of a bargain.
There you go.
And you're going to be talking about?
I'm going to be talking about actually HSAs, which is amazing. If you don't know anything about HSAs, you can learn everything about HSAs, and I'm telling you right now, HSA is better than an IRA. All right, man. We will see you next week at 2 o'clock. We appreciate you guys listening, and go to investorschooling.com, and there you can sign up and RSVP for a free class. Take care, everybody.
We out.